A billionaire's emotional return reveals an incredible bond between his daughter and their maid. Thomas Harrington stood at the front door of his childhood home, rain drumming a melancholy rhythm against the windows. He felt the weight of the mansion pressing down on him, a heavy reminder of everything he had achieved and lost. At 45, he was a self-made billionaire, but the glossy veneer of success felt like a cheap suit in the face of his father's death. His estranged father, a Vietnam War veteran, had always treated him with a tough love that had felt, to Thomas, like an iron chain. Now, that chain lay on the ground, no longer binding, yet still heavy in his heart. As he stepped inside, memories surged. The smell of cedar and polish mingled with the faint echoes of laughter. His daughter, Emma, with her bright eyes and contagious smile, had already slipped inside, blissfully unaware of the storm swirling in her father's chest. She scampered toward the kitchen, where Rosa, the family maid, was preparing lunch. Emma's laughter bubbled like a brook, chasing away the shadows. In that moment, Thomas felt a strange pang of jealousy. How could Emma connect so effortlessly while he stood on the sidelines, weighed down by regret? Inside the kitchen, Rosa turned at the sound of Emma's footsteps. "There you are, Nina," she exclaimed, her face lighting up. Emma dashed into Rosa's arms like a moth to a flame, their bond radiant against the backdrop of Thomas's fragile heart. Rosa held Emma tightly, her deep brown eyes glistening with warmth and unconditional love. It was a scene so ordinary yet so extraordinary for Thomas. As much as he wanted to relish his daughter's joy, he couldn't shake the feeling he was an intruder in both his home and his daughter's life. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue with a shaky breath. Thomas turned from the loving scene and began to sift through the remnants of his father's life, buried under years of neglect and family feuds. An old box caught his eye, its hinges rusted and forgotten. Inside, he discovered a collection of heartfelt letters, pinned in a shaky, loving hand. The words spoke of gratitude for Rosa, her dedication, and the laughter she had brought into this household. Each line seemed to echo the praise of someone who understood the true value of love beyond wealth and success. A knot formed in his throat. Could he reconcile these warm sentiments with the cold, transactional worldview he had built around himself? Outside, the storm grew louder, like a heartbeat thumping in his ear, and he felt the pull of an unexpected crossroads. What did it truly mean to be a family? As he fought the urge to hide in the shadows of power and prestige, the laughter from the kitchen tugged at him, pure, innocent, untainted by judgment or status. Emma and Rosa's bond was an oasis surrounded by the parched landscape of his own alienation. In this tumultuous sea of grief and anger, Thomas stood wavering, torn between his past and a flickering hope for redemption. Could he step forward and embrace the connections he had forsaken? Or would he let pride and fear keep him in chains? The answers loomed just beyond his grasp, waiting in the wings of this chapter he had yet to fully embrace. The rain intensified, tapping against the windows like a relentless drumbeat, pulling Thomas from his reverie. He placed the box of letters back on the shelf and took a deep breath. He needed to take a step outside of his fears and face what lay ahead. For Emma's sake, he couldn't afford to turn back now that he made his way toward the kitchen where the enticing smell of fresh tortillas wafted through the air. As he stepped in, the sun peeked through a break in the clouds, spilling light across the room. Emma was sitting on the counter, playfully swinging her legs as she chatted with Rosa, her laughter lifting the somber atmosphere. "Dad," she called, her face brightening. "Come help us with lunch." With a mix of hesitance and yearning, Thomas approached, the warmth from the light contrasting with the chill of solitude he had felt moments before. "What do you need me to do?" he asked, attempting a casual smile. "Can you chop the veggies?" Rosa suggested, handing him a knife and a cutting board. The simple task felt monumental, a bridge crossing from isolation toward connection. He took the knife, the cool handle grounding him, and began slicing the tomatoes. Each cut felt significant, like he was carving through layers of his past. As he worked, he watched Emma floating between them, so natural and joyful. She told stories about school, her friends, and even the adventures of their neighbor's dog. Thomas found himself leaning in, captivated by her innocent exuberance. It was intoxicating, pulling him deeper into a world he had distanced himself from. "Do you remember that time Emma snuck a cookie from the jar?" Rosa chuckled, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "I had to chase her down the hallway." Emma giggled, her laughter ringing like a bell. "How could you catch me? I was too fast." Thomas chuckled, joining in their laughter, but inwardly he felt the sting of sadness. So much laughter echoed here, and for years he had felt like a ghost in his own home. He wanted to be part of this light-hearted exchange, but guilt crept in. Years lost to business deals and board meetings left him unprepared for this tenderness. "Hey, can I see the letters?" Emma asked suddenly, her curiosity evident. She hopped off the counter, her tiny feet barely making a sound on the floor as she approached him. The question caught him off guard. Would sharing those letters reveal the weight of his father's expectations? Was he ready for that? Maybe later, he stammered, avoiding her eager gaze. His heart raced as he scrambled to come up with something better. "How about we make a secret family recipe instead? Just us three?" Emma clapped her hands in delight. "Yes. What is it?" "Something only the three of us can share," he replied, feeling a flicker of hope ignite. Maybe this could be a start. The letters would wait, but the kitchen was full of potential, a canvas to paint new memories. He worked alongside Rosa and Emma, chopping, stirring, and laughing. Something shifted within him. The connections he feared to embrace weren't chains. They were bonds ready to be fortified in love. But doubts lingered, echoing the reservations he had learned from his father, and he felt the old patterns tugging at him. Would he have the strength to maintain this connection? Or was he destined to retreat into the safe territory of ambition once again? As the last of the ingredients fell into place, a fog of uncertainty loomed large just beyond the happiness they were creating. The question remained, how far would he go to keep this newly blossomed family together? The answer was waiting just as much as the thunder rumbling outside, signaling that storms weren't done with him yet. The enticing aroma of spices filled the air as Thomas stirred the simmering pot on the stove. Losing himself in the rhythm of cooking felt therapeutic. With each stir, he felt the heat of the kitchen seep deeper into his bones, igniting a sense of belonging he thought he had lost forever. Emma and Rosa were laughing again, their voices a joyful melody that contrasted the threatening weather outside. Thomas glanced over to find Emma reaching for a pinch of chili powder, her small fingers dangerously close to spilling it everywhere. Rosa caught her and gave her a playful nudge. "Careful, little chef. We want it spicy, not explosive." Thomas smiled, warmth flooding his chest. It was a simple moment, but it reminded him of what truly mattered. The house, filled with chatter and laughter, felt less like a shelter he retreated to and more like a home he eagerly wanted to be a part of. "Dad," Emma called, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Can I taste it?" "Only if you promise not to burn your tongue," he teased back, stirring the pot with exaggerated care. She inched closer, excitement glowing in her eyes. Watching his daughter, Thomas couldn't shake the feeling that he was both the luckiest and unluckiest man in the world. Here she was, a beacon of light willing to guide him out of his dark past. Yet, lurking beneath the surface was the fear that he would undo it all. "Can my favorite girl help with the secret ingredient?" he asked, trying to keep the mood light. "Sure," Emma squealed, bouncing on her toes. Thomas cherished her enthusiasm, but felt a wave of heaviness surging beneath his smile. The first crack in the foundation of his resolve had appeared in the form of that innocent question about the letters. He had brushed it off, but a nagging voice in his head reminded him that secrets, like shadows, grow larger when neglected. After they finished cooking, the three of them sat around the small kitchen table, piled high with steaming bowls of food. Emma dove in, and for a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the sounds of clinking silverware and satisfied hums. "This is the best thing ever," Emma exclaimed, her mouth full. Thomas could see in her eyes how proud she was of this little adventure they shared. But then, in the quiet that followed, the truth lingered in the air. Rosa watched them both, a knowing look on her face. "You know," Thomas, family recipes are often tied with stories. It's in the sharing that we embrace each other. Her words struck a chord, reminding him how far he had pushed them both away. Was it worth it? All the time spent behind a desk or on his phone to avoid genuine connection. Rosa's right, Thomas said, the resolve in his voice strengthening as he dared to embrace vulnerability. I think it's time I shared some stories with both of you. Emma sat up straight, her curiosity piqued. Can we hear one now? He hesitated. His heart thudded in his chest. Would they still see him as the father they loved, or would they see only the failures woven into his past? But as he looked at Emma's hopeful expression and Rosa's calming presence, he felt the weight of his hesitation begin to lift. Okay, he breathed, feeling the knot in his stomach unravel. But if I share mine, you'll have to share yours too. Emma laughed, that innocent laugh that made the tension dissipate. Deal. But as Thomas began to speak, a crashing sound echoed from outside. Thunder roared, shaking the very walls of their home. All three of them froze, the playful mood abruptly interrupted by nature's startling reminder that storms could erupt at any moment. What had he just agreed to? Did he have the courage to let go completely? Before he could gather his thoughts, Emma's hand reached out to him, steady and sure. I'm not scared, Dad. You're here. For the first time, he believed it. As he looked into her eyes, he felt something shift. Whatever the storm outside threw at him, he wouldn't face it alone. The real challenge was still to come. Would he allow himself to be vulnerable enough to talk, to really connect, and to finally face his past? The thunder rolled again, louder this time, reverberating through the walls. But deep inside, something stirred. Perhaps hope had begun to take root. As the storm rumbled on, he pondered the next step. Would sharing their stories forge stronger ties or expose deeper wounds? Only time would tell, and the uncertainty loomed like clouds outside. The rain fell in heavy sheets, drumming against the windows with an urgent rhythm that mirrored the chaos inside Thomas's mind. Each crack of thunder made Emma flinch slightly, but she stayed resolute, her small hand anchored on his as she watched him intently. Do you want to talk about the storm? She asked, her voice a mix of curiosity and concern. Thomas shook his head gently, swallowing hard. It's not the storm outside that worries me, honey. It's what's inside. Rosa, who had been quietly observing, leaned in. Sometimes we have to weather storms to see the sunshine afterward. Her voice was calm, soothing like the aroma of the food they had just eaten. With the thunder as a backdrop, Thomas inhaled deeply. He felt tangled up inside, trapped between wanting to share his story and fearing the responses that might follow. But looking at Emma, he realized he had a choice. He could keep hiding, or he could choose vulnerability. Unexpectedly, he began. When I was a kid, things were different. My family, we didn't have much, but we had each other. My parents worked hard, and sometimes they fought about money. I saw them struggle, and it hurt. I promised myself I'd never let that happen to my family. His voice wobbled, and he glanced at Rosa, who offered an encouraging nod. He continued, I threw myself into work, thinking it would protect me. But then I lost sight of what really mattered. I was so busy chasing after signs of success that I forgot to nurture what was actually important, my family. Emma's hand squeezed his tighter, and he almost felt the weight lifting from his heart. And then, when I came into some money, I thought it would all change. I thought it would solve everything. But instead, it just made me more alone. Rosa's expression mirrored the compassion blooming within the small space between them. Her eyes were like a safe harbor in the storm. Everyone makes mistakes, Thomas. What matters is that you're here now. Here with you, he admitted, a smile creeping onto his face, mixed with a touch of shame. But I've been living in a bubble. I've built walls around me. And that's why I haven't talked about the things that scare me. I thought another crash of thunder rattled the house. And for a moment, they all flinched, the noise echoing through their minds. Emma looked up at Thomas, her small face serious. But you're brave for telling us. Right, Rosa? Yes, Emma. Very brave, Rosa affirmed, her eyes filled with warmth in that moment. Under the rapid fire of rain and thunder, Thomas felt a layer of fear beginning to peel away. The storm outside matched the trembling emotions within him, but it also sparked a new awareness, a longing for connection, and the hope that grew stronger with each word he shared. And as much as I've hidden, I need to hear both of your stories too. We're all part of this family now, he confessed. Okay, I'll go first. Emma bounced in her seat, excitement replacing her earlier apprehension. I want to tell you about the day I got my puppy. It was a surprise, and I thought I was never going to get one because you said we wouldn't have time for a dog. Thomas couldn't help but laugh, the sound unexpected and freeing. I'd like to hear that story, he said, glancing over at Rosa, who encouraged Emma with a smile. Emma dove into her tale, her animated gestures and excitement bringing energy back into the room. The heaviness began to lift, the storm outside still rumbling, but now feeling more like a comforting backdrop than an ominous force. As the laughter filled the kitchen, Thomas realized how liberating sharing their stories could be. With each tale, additional barriers began to crumble. There was healing in those connections, and as they exchanged stories, a new sense of belonging blossomed within him. But just as Emma completed her story, a sudden flicker of light caught their attention, the lights dimming as if the storm outside threatened to swallow them whole. Hold on, Dad, Emma said, eyes wide with anticipation. What happens next? Suddenly, the house fell dark, and a shrill wind howled outside, sending a shiver down Thomas's spine. Would their stories have enough power to light the way forward through this unexpected darkness? The darkness enveloped them, a thick blanket that pressed against their skin. The air crackled, charged with electricity and an earthy scent that filled the room as the rain began to swirl like a river outside. Thomas's heart raced, not from fear, but from the thrill of this unexpected moment. He had shared a truth, and now shadows loomed that challenged them to step further into the light. Okay, everyone, let us hold hands, Rosa suggested, her voice steady despite the tempest outside. We're safe together. Emma enthusiastically stretched out her arms, reaching for both of them. Thomas took her small hand in his adult fingers gently enveloping her delicate grip, and he felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through his chest. Though the howling wind outside seemed to threaten them all, a new kind of calm settled over the room. Tell us another story, Emma, Rosa encouraged, her eyes glinting in the dim light that flickered back into existence for a heartbeat before darkened once more. Okay, Emma said, animated as ever, her excitement providing a buoy against the storm. This is the story of how I taught my puppy, Max, to fetch. With that, she dove into an elaborate reenactment that had them all giggling. Emma imitated her puppy's playful clumsiness, knocked over imaginary obstacles, and gestured wildly, bringing the scene to life. The darkness outside continued to swirl, but in this small room, the echoes of Emma's laughter ignited a light brighter than the one they had lost. Thomas couldn't help but smile, not just at her energy, but at the simplicity of the moment. She had a way of easing tension and knack for transforming fear into fun, reminding him that even in chaos, joy was possible. But fetch was hard at first because Max wanted to chase the toy, but didn't want to bring it back, Emma narrated, her face scrunching up in a comical manner. Thomas could see her imagining that first day, the confusion and determination blending in a whirlwind of puppy antics. Just like you're doing now, Rosa interjected, her expression full of encouragement. Emma paused for a moment, her eyes darting between them. You mean I'm playing fetch with my story? Yes. Thomas laughed softly, leaning back in his chair, feeling the burden of the storm outside start to lift. And you'll bring all the stories back to us, like Max. At last, Emma continued her tale, sharing how after many tries and lots of treats, Max had finally mastered fetching. And when he brought the toy back, his tail wagged so fast a peal of thunder rumbled, almost synchronizing with her words. Emma flinched, but Rosa quickly reassured her. It's just the storm reminding us we're here. Go on. For Max, it was like he had discovered a superpower. Emma giggled, and with each shared moment, the room glowed brighter. But then, a sound erupted, a loud crack from outside, followed by an uneasy silence. The window rattled ominously, shadows flickering across the walls as wind howled like a lost soul. Emma's small voice cut through the unease. What if the storm tries to take away our stories? Thomas swallowed hard. Was the storm merely a backdrop, or was it something much more? Did the darkness of his past, his fears, also want to take something precious from him? Suddenly, he realized a powerful truth. The storm wouldn't take away their stories. It would challenge them to share with even greater strength. He squeezed Emma's hand tighter, feeling the pulse of connection between them. "I promise," he said, his voice firm yet soft. "Nothing can take away our stories, Emma. They make us who we are. And together, we can face whatever comes our way." As the room filled with Emma's laughter again, the thunder continued to rumble outside, but it sounded more like an applause now. They were crafting their own brave narrative amidst the tumult. But just when everything felt right, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the room briefly before plunging them back into darkness. "What happens if the lights don't come back?" Rosa asked softly, breaking the tension that was creeping back in. The question hung in the air like a newly fallen snow, wisps of uncertainty drifting through their bond. Would they find a way through this darkness together, or would it consume them? A thick silence filled the room, pressing down on them, as if the darkness outside had seeped into their very thoughts. Thomas felt the chill rise, creeping along his spine. The flickering lights had been a momentary reprieve, a reminder of warmth before the shadows reclaimed their territory. Next to him, Emma squeezed his hand, her small fingers trembling slightly. "What if the storm never stops?" she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Thomas leaned closer, feeling the urge to shield her. "It will stop. All storms do eventually." He attempted to sound confident, but inside, uncertainty gnawed at him. The sound of rain pounding against the windows echoed his internal doubts. "Remember Max?" Rosa prompted suddenly, her tone bright yet soothing, an anchor amidst the rising tide of anxiety. Didn't he give up because it was hard? He just kept trying. Emma nodded, her expression brightening for a moment. "Yeah, he wanted to fetch, and he learned it was okay to try again." "That's right," Rosa said, caressing Emma's hair. "Just like us. We're in this together." Yet even as she spoke, lightning illuminated the room for a fleeting second, casting eerie shadows. The roar of thunder followed closely, resonating as if nature itself was challenging their resolve. "Can we tell a different story?" Emma asked, her voice growing quieter, reflecting the fear that slithered through the room. "What kind of story?" Rosa replied, encouragingly. "A brave one. About a team of superheroes who fight storms." Emma declared, eagerness sparking in her eyes once more. The very essence of her spirit seemed to rally against the weighty atmosphere, and Thomas couldn't help but admire her resilience. "Let us do it," Rosa agreed enthusiastically. "I love superheroes." And so, under the weight of the storm, Emma spun her imagination into motion. She told tales of brave heroes who wielded the energy of lightning, harnessed the strength of thunder, and soared above the treetops on winds stronger than any storm. With each word, the atmosphere shifted. The shadows that once loomed menacingly began to feel distant, as they created their own refuge through Emma's vivid narratives. But deep down, Thomas couldn't shake off the shadows lurking in the corners of his mind. He knew this storm would not just test their courage, but also their connection. Would the light that Emma brought last long enough to shield them when the thunder rolled again? "Can we all be superheroes together?" Emma asked, looking up at both of them with those bright, twinkling eyes. "Absolutely," Thomas replied, warmth spreading within him. "All we need to do is be brave, just like you, Emma." Their laughter soon filled the space again, weaving a tapestry of hope against the cacophony outside. Yet, as the storm raged, a realization dawned on Thomas. This was not just about facing the thunder. It was about confronting the storms within him as well, the fears he had kept buried for too long. But just when the dialogue turned light, the lights flickered again, casting the room momentarily into chaos before fading completely. This time, the darkness felt sharper, more foreboding. Emma clutched his hand tightly, her small voice breaking through. "What if we lose our stories this time?" With the weight of her question settling between them, Thomas could feel the silence stretching painfully, pressing against every hopeful thought they had shared. Could darkness really take away their narratives, their laughter, and hopes? As thunder rumbled yet again, a thought whispered through his mind. They had to create a story powerful enough to withstand any storm. But what if the storm held more secrets than they imagined, waiting just beyond the shadows? Emma's grip tightened around Thomas's hand, her small palms sweaty with apprehension. The weight of her words hung in the air. What if they lost their stories? It felt as if a thick fog were swallowing up their laughter, threatening to drown out the hope they had kindled together. Rosa, sensing the tension, leaned in closer, wrapping her arms around both Thomas and Emma. "We won't lose anything," she said softly, her voice a warm blanket against the cold dread outside. "Our stories are part of us. No storm can take that away." But even as she spoke, Thomas felt a gnawing doubt. What if the narratives they had woven crumbled in the face of reality? What if the storm was only the beginning? Rosa noticed the dimming light in Thomas's eyes. "Hey," she said, tilting his chin up gently. "We're writing this story together. We have the power to shape it." He wanted to believe that. He wanted to push the darkness back, to be the hero in their tale. The idea of being brave and strong, just like Emma's superheroes, flickered in his mind. Yet fear clung to him, a shadow that refused to fade. "So what do we do?" Emma asked, her big eyes wide, searching for answers. Thomas thought for a moment, and then spoke, his voice steadier than he felt. "Let us create a superhero team, one that embraces the storm. When it rumbles, we rise above it." Emma's face lit up. "Yes, we should have names and powers. I could be Storm Girl. I can summon rain. I'll be lightning fast." Thomas jumped in, a flicker of excitement breaking through the gloom. "And I'll be Thunder Voice. I can make everyone hear what's really in their hearts." Rosa added, and the energy in the room shifted, crackling with creativity as they spoke. The storm still raged outside, but it felt less threatening now. Instead, it became the backdrop of their adventure, a canvas for their imaginations. In that moment, they weren't just waiting for the storm to pass. They were embracing it. "Okay, superheroes," Thomas said, trying to rally them. "Let us create our first mission. What do we need to defeat the storm?" Emma's brow furrowed in thought. "We need courage. And friendship. And magic. Yes. But we also need a plan," Thomas suggested, channeling his inner hero. "We'll stand together and face whatever comes." Another clap of thunder rang out, louder than before. But instead of shrinking from it, they laughed, their voices rising to meet the sound. With each laugh and each suggestion, they were rewriting the narrative. They were not simply caught in the storm. They were becoming something more, a unit that would rise against whatever challenges came their way. As they continued to share their ideas, the lights flickered again, teetering on the edge of darkness. Emma's smile, however, never wavered. "As long as we stick together, we can't let anything scare us away." Just then, a sudden, jagged bolt of lightning branched across the sky, illuminating the room for an instant. In that moment of brightness, Thomas saw something in Emma's eyes, pure determination, a fire that ignited a flicker of hope deep within him. But as the brightness faded back into darkness, a cold whisper crept through the silence once more. What if their combined courage wasn't enough? What if the storm had a plan of its own, one that would test their bonds in ways they could scarcely imagine? The question lingered in the air, heavy and unresolved. Would their story withstand the tempest ahead, or would they be swallowed by the darkness? A sudden crash of thunder jolted them back to the present, the walls vibrating with the sound. Emma squeezed Thomas's hand as they erupted into fitful giggles, masking the swell of anxiety that crept into the space between them. "Okay, superheroes," Thomas said, shaking off the feeling. "What's our first mission?" Emma leaned forward, brushing imaginary dust off her superhero costume. "We have to find the heart of the storm. That's where all the fear and darkness is hiding." "I like that idea," Rosa chimed in. "If we can find that heart, maybe we can talk to it. Everyone deserves a chance to be understood, even storms." Thomas nodded, feeling the weight of their mission settle into place. They were a team now, united by a cause bigger than themselves. "Let us make a map," he said, his heart racing. He grabbed a sheet of paper, scribbling ideas and drawing wild, imaginative sketches of their journey. The lights flickered again, casting strange shadows over their makeshift battlefield. "We need to prepare for the worst," he declared. "What if the storm tries to scare us?" Emma bounced on the balls of her feet, her eyes wide. "We'll use our powers. I'll create a rain shield to protect us. You can run super fast to scout ahead, and Rosa can make everyone brave with her thunder voice." Rosa placed a hand on Emma's shoulder. "And don't forget about love. Love is the strongest power of all," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "It's what brings us together. That's how we'll face the storm." As they plotted out their adventure, the storm outside swelled in intensity. Rain beat down like 1,000 drums. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in as the thunder growled, almost echoing their fears. A chill ran down Thomas's spine. Do you ever think, he hesitated, glancing at Emma and Rosa, what if the storm is too much? What if it wants to tear us apart? Emma's expression shifted. But that's why we have each other, Thomas. When we're together, we can do anything. As if to punctuate her words, a flash of lightning lit up the room again. It illuminated the determined look on Emma's face, and suddenly, he felt a rush of warmth. It wasn't just bravery he saw there. It was an unyielding spirit of hope that bound them. Just then, something unexpected happened. A loud crash came from outside. They exchanged startled glances. The ground beneath them trembled. Thomas's heart raced. What was that? He asked. I think Emma's voice trembled. I think we should check it out. For the mission. Let us do it, he said, swallowing hard. Together, they crept towards the window, peeking through the rain-smeared glass. Outside, a tree had fallen, a massive branch creating an obstacle. It seemed almost alive in the storm, a dark warning looming over them. The sight sent a thrill of fear through Thomas, and he felt Emma lean closer, her warmth anchoring him. Look, Emma pointed. We can save the world, starting with this tree. If we can help the things around us, we'll be stronger, right? But before he could reply, thunder roared again, shaking the very walls they had fought to hold together. Suddenly, everything grew eerily quiet. An unsettling calm settled over the room. It was as if the storm had paused, holding its breath. What do you think is coming? Rosa whispered, the tension thickening the air. Thomas gazed at his friends, their faces reflecting a mixture of courage and fear. He knew then that their adventure was about to change not just the storm outside, but something deeper within them. This was the moment, the blurring of fantasy and reality, where their stories would either forge a new path or fracture under the pressure. Whatever it is, he said, voice steady, we'll face it together. But what lay beyond that door? What awaited them outside in the sprawling chaos of the storm? The silence felt heavy, filled with the weight of unspoken fears and uncertain hopes. Emma shifted, her fearless spirit flickering like a candle in the dark. We can't just stand here, guys. The storm isn't going to wait for us, she urged, her voice firm yet trembling. Rosa nodded, her green eyes sparkling with a mix of apprehension and determination. If we want to understand the heart of the storm, we have to get closer. That tree could be a part of it. Maybe it feels scared too. Thomas took a deep breath, looking between his friends. They were right. Standing still would only make them feel smaller, trapped by the shadows of their fears. Okay, let us go. But we'll stay together. No one gets left behind. The three of them moved cautiously towards the door. Each step echoed through the stillness, the thunder rumbling softly in the distance, like a growl of something restless. Thomas turned the doorknob, its cold metal sending a shiver up his arm. He hesitated, his heart pounding, thinking about the world outside, but Emma squeezed his shoulder reassuringly. Remember, we're superheroes, she whispered. We can do this. With a rush of bravery, he flung the door open. The storm hit them like a rush of cold air, drenching them instantly. The wind howled through the branches above, and rain poured down in sheets, creating a curtain that blurred their vision. Thomas squinted, trying to focus as he glanced at the fallen tree, its thick branches strewn across the yard like the defeated arms of a giant. Look, Emma yelled over the roar of the storm. We can use these branches as bridges. If we work together, we can balance our way to the heart of the tree. Rosa stepped forward, scanning the area. We just have to be careful. The rain makes everything slippery. With cautious movements, they approached the mess of branches. Each one they stepped on creaked ominously, adding to the thrill of anticipation. Thomas felt the adrenaline rush through him. Every drop of rain was charged with excitement and fear. He remembered the stories his parents told him about brave explorers who forged ahead, even in the darkest storms. See, he thought as he glanced back at his friends, their determination igniting something within him. They weren't just facing the storm. They were transforming it into a challenge, something they could conquer together. As they climbed onto the first branch, it swayed precariously under their weight. Hold steady, Thomas said, steadying himself and reaching out to Emma. Rosa carefully followed, her fingers gripping onto the branches like a climber navigating a rocky slope. Suddenly, there was a loud crack. Another branch snapped under the strain. Thomas froze, fear gripping him as he desperately fought to keep his balance. He felt gravity pulling, threatening to drop him into the muddy ground below. "Thomas, move!" Emma screamed, and the urgency in her voice broke his paralysis. He jumped, landing with a thud on the next branch. They were safe, but his heart thundered wildly in his chest. "Whoa, that was close," he breathed, glancing back at the tree, its gnarled trunk shrouded in shadows. "Is the heart of the storm in here?" Emma nodded, her eyes shimmering with excitement. "I think it is. Let us keep going." With renewed determination, they climbed higher, navigating the tangled branches, each small victory igniting a spark of hope. But as they reached the thickest part of the tree, they felt a new wave of tension. A flicker of lightning illuminated the space around them, revealing something unexpected hidden among the tangled vines. "What is that?" Rosa pointed, her voice suddenly barely a whisper. Thomas squinted, heart racing. The shape was massive, looming like an ancient secret wrapped in shadows. What lay ahead felt like an invitation and a warning all at once, something that held the very essence of the storm. He took a deep breath, knowing whatever it was would change everything. We need to find out together. What would they discover in the depths of the tree? Would they reach the heart of the storm, or would fear take hold instead? As Thomas, Emma, and Rosa stood before the mysterious shape, a mix of anticipation and trepidation washed over them. The thick branches created a protective cocoon around them, but the shadows loomed like whispers of doubt. Emma, with her unyielding spirit, took a small step forward, her bright eyes wide with excitement. "We can do this. We're superheroes," she declared, her voice ringing out against the howling wind, somehow turning fear into courage. Thomas felt a swell of pride in that moment. Emma wasn't just a child. She was a beacon of hope, igniting something deep within him. He nodded, taking a step closer, hand in hand with his brave daughter and Rosa. "Okay, let us see what is waiting for us." As they approached, the shape became clearer, a gnarled mass of roots intertwined, pulsing with the energy of the storm itself. It was as if the very heart of the tempest had manifested here, a swirling confluence of power and fear, raw and untamed. Thomas could feel the ground vibrate beneath him, mirroring the cadence of his heartbeat. With Emma's small fingers wrapped tightly around his, he stepped forward, each footfall less hesitant than the last. "If this is the heart of the storm," he pondered aloud, "maybe it needs us as much as we need it. It's just as scared, just like we've been." "That's right," Emma chimed in, her voice steady. "Storms don't want to hurt us. They just need to find a way to express their feelings." Rosa nodded, her warm presence radiating strength. "If we can show it compassion, we might find the calm beneath the chaos." The storm rumbled overhead, as if echoing their thoughts, sending a shiver down Thomas's spine. He felt a sense of urgency. There was no time to waste. They had to act. "Let us show it our courage. Let's share our stories together." With that, they formed a circle around the pulsing roots, holding hands tightly. Emma's brave heart led the charge. "I'm Emma, and I'm not afraid of storms. I love my puppy, Max, and I want to help you." Thomas felt a shimmering warmth radiate through him as he heard his daughter's fearless proclamation. "I'm Thomas. I've hidden from storms for too long, but I'm ready to face whatever comes next. No more hiding." Beside him, Rosa's voice rang out, filled with belief and love. "And I'm Rosa. We all have stories. Through those stories, we can learn and grow. Let us connect and heal." Suddenly, an intense burst of wind whipped around them, as if the storm was responding, wrestling with their words. In the chaos, Thomas heard Emma laugh, a pure sound that broke through the fury of nature. "You see? It's listening." In an awe-filled moment, the swirling tempest began to morph. The winds softened, and the sky above them lightened, revealing glimpses of glimmering sunshine. The branches stopped their wild movement, still, as if they had paused in time. "Feel it," Rosa whispered, her voice barely audible amid the softening storm. "It's changing." With each heartbeat, Thomas felt the tension lift. This isn't just a storm. It's a part of life, a part of us, he realized aloud. The fear, the chaos. It's all wrapped around love and connection. If we embrace it, acknowledge it, we can transform it together. Emma squeezed his hand tighter, a smile lighting up her face. Like magic. And then, As if summoned by their unity, a ray of sunlight broke through the clouds above, casting a warm glow on the darkened earth. The air felt lighter, filled with the scent of earth and rain. The heart of the storm beat in sync with theirs, a dance of connection forged in vulnerability. "I think we've done it," Thomas breathed, disbelief coursing through him, mixing with triumph. "We faced the storm together, and we found strength in our stories." Emma twirled in delight, laughter bubbling forth. "We're the greatest superheroes. Together, we can do anything." And in that joyous moment, surrounded by flickering sunlight and boundless love, Thomas realized the greatest transformation of all. He had regained his family. They were unbreakable, each clinging to the mystique of their own story while embracing the collective journey ahead. As the storm diminished into whispers, each of them felt the promise of brighter days to come. They had faced the storm, shared their fears, and emerged transformed, braver, stronger, and more connected than ever. "Let us go home," Thomas said, selecting Emma's smiling face, radiant with joy. "Together, we can write more incredible stories." As they made their way back through the now calming storm, the odyssey of their lives instilled a sense of purpose in them. They were more than a family. They were a tapestry woven from threads of heart, courage, and love, ready to embrace whatever life would throw their way. Now it's time for you to take action. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to show your support and help feed the algorithm. Comment below and share your feelings about this ending. What did it mean for you? And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Show your love, and let us keep this journey going together.